Hello, Scott here today. Cold day in Colorado. I don't think it's the blizzard that they talked about. We maybe got 3 or 4 inches, and really good to see. We haven't seen a lot of snow yet this year, and it's dry out here on the plains. I got bored and I came out and I lit up my coal forge. I haven't used this one in a while. I worked out of a historical forge over the summer quite a bit, to where that shop is over 100 years old, and so is the coal forge that goes with it. So we did several activities and almost clinic type stuff out of that. I've been working out on my propane forges at home, if I can indicate them. Yeah, just some of the little projects that I've had going on. I built those 3 horseshoe snowman for a friend of mine yesterday. Pretty simple welding and forging project, but sometimes I find myself just caught up in doing that kind of stuff. Just good fun work, and I think she'll really enjoy those. So for today, not really sure what I want to talk about. I think the reason why I came out today is I just kind of got bored, and sometimes I just need to come out and light a fire and get going on something and then just see what happens. And some of my best projects have come out of no planning, just being too bored inside, don't want to lay on the couch, and really just need to come out and get something done. Okay, I think I've decided on a very simple, like small, thin bladed, almost like fillet skinning type knife. When we were up hunting this year, we did get a couple of animals up on the mountain, and I had several knives with me. And I generally just use my hand forged knives when we're quartering and butchering something up on the hill. But it occurred to me that we didn't really have a good, like very thin bladed knife to do back straps or maybe do a little bit of skinning with. I had a lot of heavier bladed stuff with me that we got to dismember pretty quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe just demonstrate. This is just some plate steel out of another project. And I found it to harden up pretty well on another project that I did. And the whole basis of my blacksmithing, it's all salvage. So everything in my pile will get used at some point. I used to shoe horses for a living, so I still have leftover farrier's rafts from 20-some years ago that I'm still forging into tomahawks and knives for that reason, to make sure that it goes to a good use. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in the fire and help if I had some fire tongs. These aren't the exact fit for that. These are some hand forged tongs, or maybe not. No, these were factory. And yeah, we'll go ahead and nestle this into the fire. Let that start heating. Okay. That almost heated faster than what I was ready for. It's real easy to burn steel up in the coal forge. This blade isn't really going to take a lot of forging, and maybe just kind of like compact the leading edge a little bit. Kind of thin out the lower half. I really like to forge and not grind. One, it shows a little bit of your skill, and 2, I just hate grinding. Probably one of the ways I lost my hearing. This is going to be like not even a half tang knife. It'll go into antler because I have a ton of antler right now. So I'm going to, maybe on the next heat, I'm going to punch 1 or 2 nails. And I would rather punch than drill because I also hate drilling. I'm just not good at it. I tend to break drill bits, dull them out. Once again, just about burned that steel up that time. I'm going to go ahead and go 2 holes, maybe just in case I need them. A little bit of beeswax on my handle here. I can cool off the tip of that punch. Let that fade to a little bit of a black heat. It'll punch a lot cleaner if we do that. I'm going to come over here to a pritchel hole. Got one last, there we go. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to keep this thing nice and level. I'm just going to go and heat it again, probably do a little bit more work on my leading edge of my blade because I really want that thin. I want it to be like a razor blade. So this isn't going to be the kind of knife that we use to chop through a joint or, you know, take a rock and hammer through heavy bone like some of my other stuff. This is going to be a more of a very delicate one. Once again, I'll kind of lay it up at a little bit of an angle so I can start forming what little bit of a bevel I'm going to have on this blade. Just like a lot of my materials are salvage, so are a lot of my tools. I hadn't thought about this in a while, but this hammer that I'm using actually belonged to a farrier, a horseshoer, which is what I used to do for a living and still do sometimes. And this has been a long time ago, but I bought this hammer out of a collection because sadly, that young man took his own life. And it's always made me think of that when I'm using this hammer, of what drove him to that. I am also a mental health professional. I am a counselor, and okay, sorry, I had to pause the tape for a minute. I wasn't quite sure the point that I wanted to make. I guess I've been through some hard times in my life too, and I've seen others get driven to that point of what this young man did. And I don't really have good advice other than, obviously, it's a permanent solution to what is probably a temporary problem in your life. When I was younger and I was going through a lot of struggles, just depression, probably drank too much as a young man. I got really down a few times and probably came close to that point. And now I look back and think, if I would have taken that option then, okay, I had to pause again. If I had taken that option then, I can't imagine what that would have set into motion. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather 6 times over. People tell me I've impacted a lot of people's lives. I've tried to do some good in this world, and it really gives me a charge to help others. And so I guess what I'm saying, if you're at that point, then stop. Call somebody, call for help, take a pause out, do something. Go get counseling, go talk to somebody at a church. If you go to a church, call a friend, but stop that thought process. So anyways, I always try to combine a little bit of a message. I call myself the cowboy counselor because I kind of come from those 2 walks of life. Shoot horses for a living for most of my adult life. I kind of come out of the trades. For some reason, I made a turnaround in my late 30s and just kind of took one step into the mental health world, and things just kind of took off from there. And I did end up doing that full time, and I've done that now for 20 years. Now I'm 58 years old, and I'm kind of returning back to some of the things. I've always blacksmith, I've continued to trim and shoe horses all along the way, but I'm starting to see a combination of these 2 worlds between doing trades and mental health. This is part of my mental health. When I come out here in the shop and I go to work, sometimes it is a response to me feeling badly, or I'm having intrusive thoughts, or I'm just down. So coming out and kind of lighting the fires and kicking the tires and making something, I always feel better. And so I guess that would be my message for today. I'm gonna continue on with this knife. It's kind of laying on my anvil right now, cooling. I'll do some grinding on it. Don't know that I'll get a handle on it today, but I think it's gonna make a nice little skinning blade. So down there in the coals, we're gonna bring it back up to heat, and then I'll be quenching in oil. So here's an interesting piece of antler left over from another project, I can tell. I've got a ton of really great antler over there, and I hate to waste any of the really good pieces on this blade because it's for me. So I'll save all the good stuff for like custom knives that I'm making or things that I'm selling on my online store. But I think this will work if I can cut that back a little bit and then notch it out. My tang will go into there. I'll have a little bit of a left-hand twist to it. I do tend to do a lot of left-handed work, but I think it'll still fit like a right-handed person. Okay, here's where we've progressed on to now with the handle. I think that's gonna work pretty well. I went ahead and shortened up my tang a little bit, so I ended up cutting one of my holes out of there. Okay, here I am. I've got my epoxy in there. I've got my rivet through, so now I'm gonna go ahead and use a ball peen, hopefully, to go ahead and just mushroom that nail out a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna leave this sitting in my shop office overnight. I've got the heater going in there. And then tomorrow, or whenever I get back to working on it, I'll go ahead and pop this clamp off. I might add a little bit more epoxy into like where my tang is just to fill it. Might also wrap this with sinew. Probably whatever I'll do a follow-up video on sharpening and then maybe just finishing this blade off. And then I'll decide what to do with it after that. If I'm gonna make a sheath for it, or it'll just become like a butcher and cooking knife, or I'd, give it away at church. I don't know what. Use it for hunting. Anyway, if you've liked this video, please hit like and subscribe. Gonna still take the direction of like offering a positive life skill along with a mental health message. I am a counselor, so what I do for a living now. And so I have kind of coined the phrase cowboy counselor. And I would like to, I guess I just want to enrich people's lives. Just offer up some helpful things that I've seen work professionally and personally for myself. Peace out. It's cold out here.